happen. We have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Welcome to Gay USA. I'm Andy Hum, and I'm not wearing a tie.
I thought you were going to say something else. I'm really glad it was a tie. I'm Ann Northrup, back from a little rest break. I'm absolutely fine. Someone asked whether I was sick. Not particularly, so I just took a week
Nothing
off.
else to report.
Well, I think I told you I finished radiation, so I just took a little break, and I am about to start the pills that I will be taking for 5 years, the tamoxifen next generation. So we'll see. They say it will put me into menopause.
Oh.
I say, stop me if you've heard this. Menopause? I was in menopause 25 years ago. And I've never taken a hormone pill in my life, or hormone replacement, or contraception. How do I have any estrogen to be suppressed? But evidently, if you have ovaries, you have estrogen, and it must be suppressed because estrogen, here's a little educational moment, folks, estrogen feeds tumors. So you want to suppress it so that you don't have your tumor return.
Okay.
So that's the next step, estrogen suppression.
And one of the things you mentioned in this whole health
night sweats
report,
yes,
was that of course men can get breast cancer too,
absolutely,
but it's not routine to test us.
That's true, because the medical profession is a little prejudiced. You have to be working with smart doctors who say, oh, by the way, you should be tested. Or at least do some self-examination so that if you have a lump somewhere, you will check it out. I was very impressed by football star and coach Deion Sanders talking about his cancer diagnosis and urging people to get tested.
Yes.
That really... it's a little sad that those of us who are afflicted with various forms of this then start talking about being tested or taking care of yourself. But it does become quite vivid when it hits you.
Sure.
But really, that should be the word of the day. It's one of the things we should all be doing all the time, is taking care of ourselves and checking.
I believe you were out there in the 80s educating people about AIDS, and you didn't have HIV.
It's true. Very true. I was the president of the New York City chapter of the Medical Marijuana Buyers Club, and I was the only person on the board who was not using marijuana medicinally.
Right.
We will not talk about how I was using it, but that was old news 25 years ago.
We're just glad you're here.
Me too.
And get your fill of me today, because I'm going to be gone for the next 2 weeks, and we're going to have some guest co-host Kathy Marino-Thomas next week.
Oh, you're going to want to tune in for Kathy, because she is a pistol, and I think she's going to be really good at this. A long-time great activist, gays against guns, marriage equality, across the board activist. But she's never done this. She did come in and watch us one week. She totally knows all the issues, and she's very lively, and I think she'll be great at it. But she hasn't done it, so you get to see her first try at it next week. And it took us, when you first brought me in here 29 years ago, you called me up one day and said, would I like to do this? And I said, okay, sure. But you never told me what to do.
I didn't have to tell you what to do.
No, I showed up here. I had no notes. I knew nothing. I just came in to do whatever. And I sort of sat here saying, huh?
Well, I'll have to get the tape.
Please don't. But It took me a while to get up to speed.
Because a lot of our old stuff is online at the NYU Fails Library, Gay Cable Network Archive.
Well,
we better get to this week's news because we have a ton of it.
Yeah, Kathy will be much better than I was at first. And then Chris Cooper comes
We'll
back.
start out by talking about that groomer, Donald Trump. But, you know, his anti-gay, anti-Latino border guards at U.S. Customs detained and interrogated a gay U.S. citizen who was with his husband, and he's also a Vermont school superintendent, for hours.
Interrogated for hours, not a superintendent for hours. Artist Amy Sherald, who you may know from her gorgeous portrait of Michelle Obama some years ago, is standing up to anti-trans censorship and is withdrawing her show from the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery.
It's at the Whitney right now, by the way.
Yes, you can see it there.
I think till August something.
I wrote it down.
More universities are caving to the Trump, and you have to call it this, protection racket, making payoffs and cutting services, including to LGBTQ students.
Protection racket and Trump fundraiser, because all the money is going to him. And we're safe from George Santos for 7 years,
yes. Unless,
of course, he gets a Trump pardon.
Well, or gets off early for good behavior, which is sort of inconceivable. The LGBTQ Film Festival in Phoenix was canceled in response to Trump's executive orders.
And they held the biggest trans march ever in the world in London this past weekend.
They say get back, we say fight back, because they had that horrible ruling about trans people in Britain.
And the government is not acting well either.
French President Macron and his wife are suing right-wing provocateur Candace Owens for repeatedly calling Brigitte, the wife, a man.
And she is some provocateur. She's not backing down.
Well,
she loves it. We will give you an update on how Andry Jose Hernandez is doing back in Venezuela now that he's been released from the El Salvador prison.
And Republicans want to end PEPFAR and replace it with a profit-making program, while millions of lives of people with HIV in poor countries are at stake.
Well, let's start by talking about that.
Sure.
So PEPFAR was basically canceled, then it was revived, and then it was moved into the State Department. It's been all over the place. But it's going to be transformed into an agency that will deal with detection of diseases that threaten the U.S. and also a vehicle for pharmaceutical companies to sell drugs.
And this is after Republicans restored $400 million in funding for it.
Well, I just
think...
So
give us the money and we'll misuse it.
Well, there's so many ironies in this. First of all, that sale of drugs thing. We spent years demonstrating against Al Gore, Bill Clinton, every subsequent president that was upholding the pharmaceutical companies' rights to make profits on these drugs, when the World Trade Organization had rules that said they had to supply the drugs to poor countries at low or no cost. We interrupted Al Gore's presidential candidacy announcement.
Yes, but you weren't willing to pay for their campaigns, and the pharmaceutical companies were.
Absolutely. So we went through years of this with PEPFAR. Now, PEPFAR, everybody gives George W. Bush this great credit for creating PEPFAR, but in fact, PEPFAR was created so that the United States could control the money spent. It was originally supposed to be that we were part of the global fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. But we said, we don't have enough control if we have to be part of this organization.
They might be doing abortions.
With other countries. So we're going to create our own organization, PEPFAR. And everybody went, yay, PEPFAR. Whereas some of us are sitting here saying, if you'd just given the money to the global fund in the first place, we wouldn't have to deal with things like these nonsense abortion restrictions. Well, ironically, what the Trump administration is doing in destroying PEPFAR is saying, all right, our money for these diseases is going to go to the global fund.
And now we're talking about millions of people's lives, but this
Yes.
is the quote from the government. We believe that the transition of PEPFAR can become the premier example of the U.S. commitment to prioritizing trade over aid. Oh, man. Opportunity over dependency. And investment over assistance. These people, these poor people are going to be, they need to be more self-reliant and pay thousands of dollars for their drugs. They'll die.
It's crazy. It is. The whole thing is just crazy, the way it's gone around in circles. But yes, people will die. Pharmaceutical companies will make more money. And the whole thing is an absolute sham, if I may say so.
Well, let me get to this.
And meanwhile, the U.S. is destroying almost $10 million worth of contraceptives that are sitting in Belgium. Because why?
They destroyed a whole food supply that was sitting on docks. I mean,
Other countries
cruelty is the point.
Other countries have offered to buy these contraceptives from us, but they say, no, we're just going to destroy them.
And I can remember when, I guess it was Obama confronting Mitt Romney in a debate, next thing you guys are going to want to end contraception. And Romney's going, what are you talking about? This is ridiculous. Come on, let's talk about real issues. And of course, it is an issue.
And the theme that does come up over and over and over again is the right wing claiming that money given to aid organizations to fight HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria is going to these organizations that also perform abortions.
As if they really care.
As if that's a terrible thing. But A, they don't, many of them. And B, the money is segregated and not used for abortions. And how dare they? How dare they?
How dare they do anything? It goes on and on and on. Look,
Yeah.
But look how he was greeted in Scotland. Well, look at the cover of the National newspaper. The National. They put a picture of him on the front page.
This is a Scottish newspaper.
Yes. Convicted U.S. felon to arrive in Scotland. Now, why, and it's in big, bold letters, now, why isn't the American press responsible like that when they talk about this guy?
Why isn't the National being sued and destroyed by Trump?
We learned this week that Trump is a groomer. He and the GOP put his corrupt personal lawyer, Emil Bove, is that how we say it? Bovey on the Court of Appeals, and that's grooming him. So
Short stop before the Supreme Court.
All right, to replace either Alito or Thomas. And he's a horror show. I mean, he won by about one vote, I think. But Collins and Murkowski voted against him.
50 to 49.
Yeah.
But that's all it takes. All those cowards in the Republican Party who wouldn't vote against him because they don't exist anymore.
We worked all our lives for these, and it was hard, for these environmental laws, for these civil rights laws, for all these things. But deep down, the Republicans always wanted to get rid of them, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, they are. Trump succeeds in a lot of ways because of little things he says, little things he picks on that are popular with the American people when he says them. They're not big sweeping things. They're little things. And I think we're missing the boat by not finding more of those little things ourselves to talk about and go after him about.
Well,
like cheating at golf, which he was caught on camera doing in Scotland.
He's always cheated.
Yeah. There's a book about it, Commander in Cheat.
And I am flying off to London. I'm a little worried about coming back. I have activist friends who say, "Oh, I'm not even taking my phone. I'm taking a burner phone because they can look at your phone at the border." Well, so this guy Wilmer Chavaria, he's a school superintendent from Vermont. He's a naturalized U.S. citizen. That's him on the right with his husband. And they're coming back from Nicaragua from a family visit. And
Chavaria is originally from Nicaragua.
Right, and he gets pulled aside and we don't believe this relationship. What are you talking about? He's your husband. This is the kind of stuff they're saying to him. They're abusing him, and they say, you're coming with us.
And they say, superintendent of schools in Vermont, forget it, you're not a superintendent of schools.
It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
So, again, what you have, I mean, he said, I have constitutional rights. Actually, you don't. At the border, they can do anything they want. They don't need a warrant. They can look at your phone and see what you've been posting. Oh, you're anti-Trump, you're a terrorist. Or you're pro-Palestinian, you're a terrorist, and you're not coming into the country.
He was refused a lawyer. He's in the global entry, program.
Not anymore.
I know. They canceled his membership.
So the thing is, they can pull you in. The reason he didn't want to give over everything on his laptop, he said that is confidential information from the school district. And you can look at my personal stuff, but I can't do that for you. Well, they held him for 4 hours, 4 different interrogations.
Five hours.
5. Well, it's insane. And, nice knowing you if I can't get back.
Well, here's a local news report on what happened to him, some of it anyway.
That's right, Matt. He says even years ago, when he wasn't a U.S. citizen yet, using his student visa and green card to enter the country, there was never a problem before until now that he's a citizen using a passport. Chavarria is originally from Nicaragua and still visits his family there multiple times a year. He's been traveling in and out of the U.S. since he was 15 years old and says he's never had a problem until now. On Monday at the George Bush Airport in Houston while returning home, he and his husband were separated by Customs and Border Protection officers without reason.
It normally takes a few seconds. But then an officer sent me to another officer, and that other officer grabbed her radio and she radioed for somebody to come and escort me away.
Chavarria says he was brought into a holding room and interrogated for almost 5 hours. Officers went through his personal devices, demanding data like passwords and login info. Chavarria says he handed over his own info, but the officers became increasingly suspicious and hostile when he wouldn't give out any student or district data.
That at no point did I give consent for anybody to have access to their information. And up until the end, I continued to say I do not consent.
As this all went on for hours, Wilmer's husband was forced to wait outside.
This is being done to 2 U.S. citizens here by current U.S. authorities. The terror that goes through a spouse's mind in not knowing while your spouse is detained for 4 to 5 hours is not something I wish on anybody.
Chavarria says the officers that detained him were wearing street clothes and didn't have ID. He was eventually released and reunited with his husband, but the incident caused the two to miss their return flight, and they spent the night in the airport. Now, Chavarria's story is being seen across the country, like politicians and unions speaking out, condemning the incident, including Vermont's Secretary of State, the National Education Association, and even Democrat Becca Balint, who shared her frustrations out on the House floor. The Winooski School Board is calling for an official investigation into the matter. Live in the newsroom, Roy Santacroce, Fox 44 News.
The point of it is, if you are a Border Patrol agent, you can exercise your prejudices. I don't like gays, I'm going to go after them. I don't like Latinos, I'm going to go after them. You can just do it, and there's nothing stopping you.
And it's not just the border, of course. It's all these ICE agents all over the country taking such a disgusting and lazy approach to arresting people. Oh, we know where they are. They're in the courthouse.
Well, you know why they do the courthouse?
For their
No, they do the
legal
courthouse because they've been screened for weapons and they feel less threatened.
Well, there's that, but because, you go after people with weapons like the real criminals that he claimed he was going to get rid of. No, we go to the people who are following the law, turning up for their appointments to check in with the court, because what we do is we get the courts to dismiss their cases, and then they're fair game, and we just drag them out of there.
That's the low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
And, we're all upset at Trump and everything. We told you that Harvey Fierstein had a show of his famous quilts in Ridgefield, Connecticut. Got a picture of it there. And he was interviewed by the UK Guardian, and we'll link to this. And he said, look, you don't know Trump. I've sat next to him at a wedding. True. Gay wedding. And he says he was nothing but a thief and a fraud. But he really unloaded on Rick Grinnell, the gay quisling who Trump installed as the head of the Kennedy Center. He proudly says, I'm a gay married man. Who got you those rights, you piece of S? You low-life little creep. Who got you the right to get married, you F-face? And we'll link to the whole article. Harvey does not hold back. Neither does Amy Sherald.
Well, Amy Sherald is a wonderful, wonderful artist. Let's start with a picture of her. She was
that's the picture.
That's the
that is the picture of her.
No, there is a headshot of
Nope.
Amy
Do we
Sherald,
have it?
which I hope we have, because that was no.
Show that one, because that's
Okay.
her with one of her gay paintings, which is called American Sublime.
Well, a few years ago, Amy Sherald was commissioned to do the official portrait of Michelle Obama, which is her in this gorgeous dress and sort of leaning over and just beautiful, and is a highly, highly respected artist. So she was scheduled for her own portrait show at the Smithsonian Portrait Gallery.
This is a show that originated, I believe, in San Francisco. It's at the Whitney Museum in New York now for a couple of more weeks. And then it was supposed to go to Washington in September.
But Amy Sherald has now canceled that show in September, called American Sublime, because...
Well, that's the name of the show, yes.
Because she is afraid of censorship of that. Now you can show the
Transforming Liberty.
Trans Statue of Liberty
Transforming
portrait.
Liberty.
The blue dress.
There it is. Come on. There it
There.
is. This is the one that gave them pause, including Lonnie Bunch, who I thought was a decent guy. And
Everyone's scared these days.
Unfortunately, it's become clear that the conditions no longer support the integrity of the work as conceived, she said. And because they said, couldn't we just sort of do a video of people looking at this someplace and reacting to it positively and negatively? And she said, no.
The show is at the Whitney here in New York through August 10th, but now that she's canceled the Smithsonian version, I was kind of hoping they'll extend it the Whitney, but I don't know that. I'm just making that up.
Yeah.
She would have been the first Black contemporary artist to have a show, her own show, at the National Portrait Gallery. That's a little stunning.
Well, here's the key quote from her. At a time when transgender people are being legislated against, silenced, and endangered across our nation, silence is not an option.
Meanwhile,
that goes for everyone here. Silence is not an option in these times.
And another entry in today's edition of Surrealism in Everyday Life, Stephen Miller, the hitman for the Trump administration.
Well, I thought you were going to say Hitler.
No, the man truly running the...
He's really Goebbels.
He's all of them combined. He's really running the administration. So he created this legal organization called America First Legal, and they do all sorts of horrible things, bringing cases all over the country. He has filed a complaint against, you sitting down, Cracker Barrel for discriminating against white men.
This is the organization that we boycotted for years because of the way they treated gay people, and we're proud of it.
Yes.
Mistreated gay people.
Yes. This is part of Stephen Miller's initiative called Culture, Belonging, and Inclusion. CBI, not DEI, CBI.
I got to give you a positive story to balance all this.
Yeah,
we had a win
okay.
for transgender people in federal court. A judge blocked the Trump administration's anti-DEI and anti-LGBTQ restrictions on federal grants given to organizations serving domestic and sexual violence survivors, LGBTQ youth, and unhoused communities.
I have a positive story, too. Remember a few weeks ago when we told you that the White House was withholding $5.5 billion from schools for their after-school programs and enrichment programs and everything? They are now releasing that money to the schools.
Republican members of Congress complained.
Well, it's actually a great example because the people complained to Republican members of Congress and brought a lot of pressure on this, and 10 Senate Republicans backed the people's pressure, and so the Trump administration caved.
We're kind of burying the headline, or one of the headlines. You know, they built concentration camps, and they now have $170 billion to build more. And when you have them, you've got to fill them up. So Trump now wants to make it easier to involuntarily treat people with, quote unquote, serious mental illness to get, ostensibly to help get the homeless off the streets and put them in places and things.
The eternal question.
But don't forget, in totalitarian countries like Soviet Union and places like that, they would classify you as mentally ill if you were a dissident, and then you'd end up in a camp. So they have already classified transgender people as sick in the head. So they could
sick liars, every last one of them.
Under this executive order, they can start round. I am trying to scare people, because if we don't get scared, we're not going to stop it.
And by the way, I have to comment on something Chris Cooper said here last week. I'm sure he will agree with me and reposition his comments. You were talking about the Epstein stuff, and he said, no one cares about Epstein. This is all a distraction. And I have to say, a lot of us care about the hundreds and hundreds of young women who were raped and kidnapped and assaulted. And
yes, and the question, and that's being brought up by the media constantly, and they bring in the survivors of his abuse. Some of them are not survivors. Some of them have taken their own lives, like former Trump employee Virginia Giuffre, is that her? Giuffre. Yeah. Who was stolen by Epstein.
Chris was making the point that the Republicans are hyping this up and really going to town on it. But really, I've said many things with loose lips on this show that I've later regretted, and I know that I haven't talked to Chris.
Well, the question in terms of what Chris raised is Trump does something 10 times a day that would have sunk any other presidency, literally 10 times a day. Yeah. The question is this the one that's going to get him?
I'll take anything.
Okay. The Metropolitan Community Church has joined the lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Homeland Security over their sensitive locations policy, which means going into churches to grab immigrants.
Yeah, all right. So where do I want to start on this?
ICE is moving to shackle some 180,000 immigrants with GPS ankle monitors. And then we want to talk about the schools.
Sure.
Well, federal government, University of Virginia was forced to get rid of their president, a nice guy. And then after that, the government cut $64 million in grants to them. So the dictator is never appeased, and it goes on and on.
They've targeted 5 districts in Northern Virginia for their DEI practices, and they're threatening them.
But you saw this week, Columbia University paid Trump another $200 million, and they agreed to all kinds of restrictions.
Yep.
But this is mob behavior. You agree to it, you pay, and then you will pay again. Harvard which got credit for taking Trump on the courts, big heroes, they're now making a $500 million deal with him. They're accused of civil rights violations for tolerating anti-Semitism. Of course, we have an administration that tolerates all kinds of discrimination and promotes it.
And this goes back to the Stephen Miller story. They are accusing these schools of discriminating against white men.
Yes.
That's the discrimination they're charging, not no acknowledgement of historical and current discrimination against anybody else. It's really just claiming that white men, by acknowledging current and previous discrimination, by looking for a diverse student population, that to the administration is ipso facto discrimination against white people.
And the Yale Medical School and the Yale New Haven Hospital, they're no longer going to prescribe gender-affirming medications for patients under 19. Interestingly enough, much less wealthy and smaller healthcare institutions continue to provide these medications.
Well, I'm also, I love the story about how small law firms are not being intimidated by Trump, that they're not standing still waiting to be punished. It's the big ones that are backing down. And I feel kind of the same way about small public access TV stations. We are not being held up for $500 million.
Well, we're not getting government funding.
Exactly.
Right, and although we do want to thank Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS for giving us an annual grant, and that helps keep us going. And as you do out there in TV land, by supporting us. Go to gayusatv.org to keep us going. Well, you know.
And the small law firms, too.
Yes.
But, yeah, it's nice to know that there is a whole... and the people who spoke up against the withholding of funds to schools, there is a very active substrata of people in this country who are not taking any of this lying down, which makes me hopeful.
And Kaiser Permanente is no longer going to provide gender-affirming surgeries, though there are hardly any of those, to patients under the age of 19, under pressure from the Trump administration.
I am really hoping that this is just some horrible nightmare from which we will escape in a couple
We're
of years.
only 1/8 of the way into the Trump second administration. But at the state level, the University of Kansas and Kansas State University are ending LGBTQ and diversity and equity and inclusion programs due to a new state law. This is one that, you know, Laura Kelly did not stop. She's the Democratic governor.
And then there's Oklahoma, where our old pal Ryan Walters, the superintendent of schools, has failed to get the funding he wants for Trump Bibles in the schools, and is
Put that picture up of Ryan.
Yes, and is now being charged.
Keep it up.
Of having naked women on a TV screen in his office.
During a meeting, two of the board members who are Democrats, they were at an angle where they saw naked women on the screen. Is that a woman naked? No, she's got a bodysuit on. Well, I was so disturbed. I said, "What am I watching?" And Ryan went, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Oh," and then he took it down. But now he's on TV saying, "Wait a minute, wait for it. This is a plot of the Republican governor to get me, who is making these Democrats do this in collusion with the teachers union."
Yeah, he and Governor Stitt are not getting along these days. Stitt's the one who blocked the extra funding for more Bibles. I was shocked.
Yes. Last week, Chris Cooper again reported on how Ryan Walters is working with the right-wing anti-LGBTQ PragerU to develop an ideological purity test for teachers relocating the state, including whether they grasp the fundamental biological difference between boys and girls. Maybe the porn he showed was part of that test.
Now, speaking of porn, there is another Republican in trouble in Minnesota. The former CEO of something called My Faith Votes, a guy named Jason Yates, he has pleaded guilty to possession of child porn.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of it. But he's someone...
100 images.
Yeah, he's someone who is a right-wing pastor.
Yes, his group was previously headed by Ben Carson, and now Mike Huckabee, our ambassador to Israel, is the honorary national chairman.
So I want people to connect these dots.
I think our folks do, but you know, how do you get the whole public to? And then there's Texas Attorney General and Uber anti-LGBTQ bigot Ken Paxton.
What a guy.
And his wife.
Is he hiding there behind
Angela.
the hedge?
They've been exposed now. I mean, so much corruption. They're getting a divorce and everything. But they signed mortgages for 3 houses that they claimed as their primary residence so that they could get tax breaks. Now, why isn't he in jail?
Well, they tried to put him in jail. They had him on trial for years. They delayed the trial, and then he was finally not convicted. Yes, 3 houses. If you declare your house you're buying on your mortgage application as a primary residence, you get lower interest rates, where we heard that before, and lower property taxes. So that's what he did with 3 houses. You do the math. How can 3 houses be your primary residence? He also violated mortgage terms on 2 other houses he owned by offering them for rent. You are not supposed to offer, in Texas anyway, houses that you own for rent if they are mortgaged. And that's 5 houses. He's the Attorney General of Texas.
We are living in a lawless society.
Man, well, for some people anyway.
Well, but we are safe from George Santos for the next 7 years, the 37-year-old corrupt right-wing Republican gay congressman. He reported to duty in New Jersey. His last post on X, well, darlings, the curtain falls, the spotlight dims, and the rhinestones are packed. From the halls of Congress to the chaos of cable news, what a ride it's been. Was it messy? Always. Glamorous? Occasionally. Honest? I tried most days. And it goes on. It's just...
You got to give him credit for being a good writer.
He says, thanks for the free press. I may be leaving the stage for now, but trust me, legends never truly exit. And that's the problem in America today.
Yeah.
They used to say, there are no second acts in America. Well, now you can do anything.
Anything. So do we think he will be treated as a hero in prison or as a victim?
I don't...
By which I mean the inmates will go after him.
I don't know what kind of a facility he's in, so I can't comment.
Okay.
But like Ghislaine Maxwell, he's hoping for a pardon. All right, Kim Davis is now formally petitioning the Supreme Court to overturn the Obergefell decision through the Liberty Counsel. They write Obergefell was wrong when it was decided. It's wrong today. It's based on a legal fiction about due process, and they really are hoping to overturn it because they say it has had ruinous consequences for religious liberty.
Well, they are comparing it to the Dobbs decision, the abortion decision, and saying that her religious liberty rights have been violated by the requirement that she allow same-sex couples to get a marriage license.
They at least want her to be let off the hook as a public official who didn't want to participate in issuing the licenses. That's
Yes.
the kind of they may succeed on that with the Supreme Court.
Well, the question is always, if you sign up to be a public official, where do your duties begin and end?
Talking about a country that doesn't exist anymore.
I understand. I'm just defining the question. I'm not predicting how they'll answer it.
And of course, right conservative justices have said, yes, you have to do your duty,
Exactly.
or you've got to resign.
Exactly. You don't want to abide by the laws of the United States and the Constitution, resign your job. She says, I have a right to the job and I have a right to certain rights provided by the Constitution in doing the job. And therein lies the question.
And there was a win for Planned Parenthood in court. A federal judge in Massachusetts, an Obama appointee, Indira Talwani, extended her temporary block on the withholding of Medicaid funds from Planned Parenthood. She says it's unconstitutional legislative punishment.
And congratulations to Delaware representative in the U.S. House of Representatives, Sarah McBride, who has passed her first proposed bill in the House, a bill to open investment options to everyone. I understand none of this financial stuff. Not just about risk. I'm sorry, I've gotten that wrong.
We'll link to it.
Anyway, it passed unanimously in the House, but then she didn't play in the softball game between the House and House women and the media women.
Oh.
Trying to step aside from controversy still, I guess.
Oh, yeah. In Portland, Oregon, an appeals court sided with an Eastern Oregon woman who was blocked from adopting foster children after she said she couldn't comply with a state policy requiring support of a child's LGBTQ identity. They ask you, how are you going to do if the kid turns out to be gay? And she says, well, I'm a
Read him the Bible.
Religious person.
Yeah.
But she won her case.
A man and wife in Texas who hate us and everyone else moved to Moscow, Russia, to escape the liberal United States. He got sent to the front lines in Ukraine.
All right.
And decided maybe he made a bad decision. He regrets his decision. He was
promised this wouldn't happen. Yeah. Sucker.
Well, I don't want
Only two people took advantage of this Russian, we're the real moral people, come on over here. Two people showed up. He did. He goes to the front lines.
Jonathan Capehart has taken a buyout from the Washington Post as the Post continues to disintegrate and lose a lot of their people.
He was on the editorial board.
And he is going to continue his roles at MSNBC and PBS as a show.
He's gay.
Host and guest. Yes, he is. And follow up on the shooting near the Stonewall at Pride here. As we told you originally, it had nothing to do with the Stonewall or the Pride Parade. But they have now, what did I have there? They've arrested a teenager for the shooting and reconfirmed that it had nothing to do with Pride.
Right. Speaking of New York, they did a poll on like the mayoral race, and Zohran Mamdani is up to 50% at this point over the people still running.
Yeah.
And they broke it down by group. 72% of LGBTQ people who answered this poll said they're voting for Mamdani. He's leading among Jews. They're trying to make him out, as I said, he's winning the Jewish vote.
I have had several Jewish friends say to me, Mamdani, are you kidding me? I wouldn't vote for him. Have you heard what he said? And I say, I'm keeping an open mind. You might want to think about
among Jews
I agree.
In New York.
I understand. Now, what do you think about Obama saying young men need gay friends and role models?
Everybody needs friends and gay friends. I need gay friends.
And that they can, straight men can learn empathy and kindness from gay people.
It's stereotyping. What can they learn from lesbians?
How to play softball.
Okay. In South Carolina, Lindsey Graham has kissed the president's rear end forever, but the guy who conceived of Project 2025 is giving him a primary. Paul Dans, former director of the Heritage Foundation.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens there.
If Trump will stick by him or go with the 2025. But I don't know anything about Project 2025. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Trump has already endorsed Lindsey, but that was early, and he could switch easily.
Florida's Republican Attorney General has subpoenaed a wine bar demanding the names of guests, employees, and performers at a recent drag show.
Can you imagine?
Yes, I can imagine anything on this administration. It's insane.
It is, and it's a very family-friendly drag show that's been going on for years, and the bar owner says, we've been doing it, we're going to keep doing it, we're not handing over any of that information, leave me alone.
All right.
Now, in Detroit, a terrible story. A drunken Texan man, age 26, viciously and brutally attacked two gay couples, one male couple, one female couple.
This is the lesbian who really got hit the hardest.
Yeah.
We don't have her name.
Her
wife's name is Chelsea Way.
They had been in a casino in Detroit, and they're outside waiting for a car. And this guy comes along with a couple of friends and just beats the hell out of them.
Chelsea said, he was calling me a he, she so tough. But it was all just drunken anti-gay bigotry.
Yeah, so they went to, one of the gay men went to the security officers in the casino to ask them to help. And the security officers ignored him.
Well, the wife suffered a concussion and has received 20 stitches for her injuries. She's also said to be having trouble with her memory and difficulty sleeping following the attack.
way they caught the guy is that one of the gay men, I think it was one of the men, could have been one of the women.
One of the men was her gay brother.
Yes, followed the attacker as he fled the scene, followed him for 3 miles, calling the cops, and finally got him arrested.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
In Virginia, the U.S. Department, we did that story. In Phoenix, the organizers of an LGBTQ film festival there have canceled the annual event in direct response to President Trump's executive order, the Desperado LGBTQ Film Festival, because it's hosted by a student organization at Paradise Valley Community College, which receives federal funds. So federal funds are cursed now.
We have an update on the death of Anne Burrell, the chef from the Food Network. They have now declared her death as suicide. probably having to do with the fact that they found hundreds of pills around her in the shower where they found her
All right,
body.
somebody we lost this week, Martin Izquierdo, a costume designer for Angels in America. He's died at the age of 83. He specialized in wings. He is survived by his partner, the costume designer John Glazer. These are the famous wings in the angel scene when the angel comes down in Angels in America.
And that's at the end of the first play.
That's Ellen McLaughlin there as the angel, and Stephen Spinella, who played Prior Walter. He also was seen in Victoria's Secret runway shows, did a lot of outlandish costumes for Heidi Klum and Marc Jacobs, etc.
He's survived by his husband, costume designer John Glazer.
And by the way, he came here as a young, undocumented immigrant from Mexico who had been recruited to do agriculture work, and he never became a citizen.
We also note the death of Tom Lehrer at age 97, who really was a math professor, but was doing all the, not a lot, but some very cheeky satire songs in my youth.
He was transgressive before there was a word for that, and that sort of delighted us. Look, I was a grade school kid, and he did the Vatican rag, making fun of the Catholic Church, and we were little Catholic school kids.
Genuflect, genuflect, genuflect.
We thought, and he let that song be used by Robert Hilferty in a short documentary about Stop the Church.
It was a great, he was quite the guy.
All right, international news?
Yes.
The High Court of St. Lucia has struck down the colonial-era laws criminalizing same-sex intimacy. They're interpreting sexual orientation discrimination as sex discrimination, which is forbidden.
Update on Andry Hernandez Romero, who the gay hairdresser.
Well, it's nice to see him smiling. I mean, we didn't know how he was going to fare. He had a horrible time in there. He said
in the El Salvador prison,
where they were beaten, and
when he was a refugee from Venezuela who was in the U.S. applying for asylum, picked up by ICE at his asylum hearing. Was in that first plane load of people who went to the El Salvador prison. People just screamed and yelled for his release. They finally released him and took him back to Venezuela,
which he had fled. But we seem, he's been embraced by everybody there. He's been on the news. One of the prisoners says he's suing the Department of Homeland Security for wrongful detention. He says, "Look, I want to clear my name. I am not a bad person. After all, Trump said these are all gang members and horrible criminals, and then all of a sudden we do have control all over them, and we could." And of course, he imported a murderer from American murderer from a Venezuelan prison.
So Andry had tattoos saying like "mom" and "dad." And that was defined by DHS as gang tattoos. DHS, Department of Homeland Security, was asked about his release and his greeting back in Venezuela, and their quote was, "He's a criminal."
They call everybody a criminal who was an immigrant, essentially.
Exactly.
And Out Representative Robert Garcia wrote to Secretary Rubio at State and said, because of all this abuse, there needs to be an investigation because this was basically a U.S. operation.
Like there's going to be an investigation.
Right. London had their biggest trans pride ever, more than 100,000 people to support its existence and resistance theme. It actually was the biggest trans pride in the world. Ever, anywhere. And why? Because don't forget, this is the year that the Supreme Court of Great Britain said, or United Kingdom said, you're not covered by, trans people are not covered under sex discrimination.
Right.
And then what's the Pope sign?
Oh, so someone sent us this sign, which I thought was terrific.
Rich from Florida sent us this sign.
If you call him Leo the 14th, you can call trans people by their chosen name.
Yes, he's a man in a dress, and he has a chosen name also. Yeah. There was a big turnout also for LGBTQ Pride in Berlin, where they call it Christopher Street Day, which is what we called it 50 years ago. Their banner said, "Never again, we won't stop until everyone is heard." And again, why was it so big there? Because the German conservative government said, we're not flying pride flags over the Bundestag anymore.
Yeah. Now, in France, the president, Macron, and his older wife, Brigitte, the two of them there on the left, have been tortured for months by Candace Owens, who is a legendary provocateur here in the
they're
U.S.
on the right, a black female conservative.
Very conservative is an understatement.
She's crazy. I mean, she says she stakes her entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron is in fact a man.
She did an 8-part series for YouTube called Becoming Brigitte. That's all about her theory that Brigitte Macron is trans.
They're going to court in, what is it, Delaware or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
They're represented by Claire Locke, a heavyweight law firm that has won major defamation cases, including the Dominion lawsuit against Fox News. So they're not fooling around. And
at this point they can't. Candace Owens has also claimed that Brigitte is actually her brother and was born male. The brother, by the way, exists and has shown up and is not Brigitte.
A right-wing attorney said Owens has told some of the dumbest, most obvious lies one can tell. She has 0% chance of winning in court.
But she doesn't care because this is just more publicity for her. And
well, not if she pays a Dominion-like settlement.
Well, perhaps she won't. I mean, how many has Trump paid?
Yes, he had to pay the woman he raped.
She also says the Macrons, if Brigitte is not trans, the Macrons are blood relatives of each other, and the CIA controls him.
There is no shame.
Nope.
We lost in Italy two guys who were special Barbie creators, a couple, Gianni Grossi and Mario Paglino. They were killed after an 82-year-old man was driving the wrong way. They killed four people died in the crash. A fifth was hospitalized. But they made these special custom Barbie dolls, which sold at charity auctions for like $15,000, and their generosity was known to be boundless.
Yeah, very sad. And in Tunisia, there are ongoing arrests of LGBTQ people, 84 since September. And they've all been jailed where they have forced anal exams. There's just a pogrom against LGBTQ people in Tunisia right now.
All right. In London, a Colombian man accused of the gruesome murder of two gay men in London has been found guilty. A 35-year-old, his name was Mosquera. He was convicted of the 2024 murders of 71-year-old Paul Longworth and 62-year-old Albert Alfonso. They had been like friends or something. And
he'd been having sex with one of them and posted videos of that. He dismembered them and stole their money.
It's a gruesome, gruesome thing.
Horrible.
He'll be sentenced in October. And, okay, all right. AIDS news?
Yes, and we have 5 minutes left.
All right, let's go.
There's that.
So William J. Rutter, a scientist who helped create the modern biotech industry, has died at 97. In 1981, he was a co-founder of Chiron Corporation, Chiron Corporation, which helped sequence the HIV genome that causes AIDS. And another scientist from the firm, Michael Houghton, discovered the hepatitis C virus and won the Nobel Prize for it.
And RFK Jr., the HHS secretary, continues on his rampage. He's fired his entire advisory panel on preventive services, including vaccines.
As predicted. We won the Supreme Court decision that said he can appoint the panels and they can make decisions. So the decision is get rid of everybody and get me quacks who are going to go along with what I want to go with.
Yeah.
The question is whether this new CDC director is going to assert any independence from him.
It's all terror and nonsense.
And Democrats on the Health Committee, Senate Committee, are launching an investigation into his firing of all the members of this panel of experts. And attention for those of you on ACA plans, affordable care plans. They're losing, all kinds of money. And these are, if this is before you get Medicare, you get an ACA plan, and there were a lot of subsidies coming in through the Biden era. They're all disappearing. More than 4 million people will become newly uninsured.
All right, entertainment news?
Yes.
Well, I have a lesbian movie recommendation for you. Silly, murder mystery, but a lot of lesbian action on Netflix. The Hunting Wives. It takes place in Texas, and Malin Ackerman is the star and chief object of desire. And Brittany Snow, who you may remember, you don't, but from the Pitch Perfect series, where she was kind of lesbianic there.
I know the name.
Okay. Well, it's cute. It's a little convoluted, and it's probably the first of several seasons. Very popular.
The American LGBTQ plus museum at the New York Historical Society just got a $1 million allocation from Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine, who will soon be the city comptroller. The funds are to help build a new wing to house the museum up there on the Upper West Side.
And they're certainly not going to get any federal funds. Project Runway is returning. It will show up this week, starting tomorrow as we tape, Thursday on Hulu, Freeform, and something else, maybe Disney+. Heidi Klum is back, Christian Siriano. Project Runway on Hulu starting this week. And
they had the LA Progers Pride Night there out in Los Angeles. And who threw out the first ball but Tom Daly?
I call Craig. I'm scared.
Drummer and producer, T-Foot is the head.
I don't know if that made me feel better or worse, honestly. I hate this. I actually hate this.
That's why I said
Nice pitch.
Yes, Tom.
That was great. That was terrifying.
I guess Tom is a catcher, not a pitcher.
I was going to say, most people would say he throws like a girl, but not me, because
Right.
lesbians throw a lot better than that.
But he was very game to do it.
Yes, and I'm glad they gave him the chance. He's no Shohei Ohtani, the Dodgers' great pitcher. But I did watch Happy Gilmore 2 on Netflix because I like Adam Sandler, and I liked the first Happy Gilmore, and it's not quite as good as the first one, but it's entertaining, and he has a good heart. That's what he has in all these movies.
It's good that you can laugh, Ann, and it's nice to see you smiling, because I go through the week in total misery having to read all these stories. But I'm gonna be glad to. I'll keep up with the news, but I'm gonna be gone for the next 2 weeks.
Yes, and we're breaking in a newbie next week. The great activist Kathy Marino Thomas will be here, and I hope that I can help her, but I think she's going to do just fine on her own.
Followed by Chris Cooper
the following
if he'll
week.
come back after all.
And then you'll come back.
About him. I will come back.
Bye.